Hi, folks. We'll be starting in the next 4 minutes. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in the next 3 minutes. All right. I've enabled the chat for everyone. So, folks, till we begin, I would love to know a bit about you. So, do share your name, role, the company you're working in, and also your city. You may also share your LinkedIn URL so that you can network with each other. This is sort of your digital name tag. It helps you network with other folks and also helps us understand your overall background. All right, I see product managers, product owners, program manager, some students as well. Awesome. 2 more minutes, folks, and then we will begin. Please share your overall background. And we are also live on YouTube. So if by chance you are not able to join this meeting or get dropped off, don't worry, you can join us via YouTube as well. I will share the link to our YouTube channel. So whoever has joined us via YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel because we keep doing these sessions. All the recordings as well are uploaded on YouTube. So you can go and subscribe to us on YouTube. 1 more minute, folks, and then we will begin. Please keep sharing your background in the format that I have shared: name, role, company, the city that you're from, and LinkedIn URL. Awesome. It's 2:05, folks. So a very good afternoon to everyone who is here in the Zoom meeting, and also to all the folks who have joined us via YouTube Live as well. We will keep tracking the chat on YouTube Live. So whatever questions that you have, do keep sharing that. You will get the same experience as you might have on Zoom meeting as well. So first of all, good afternoon and welcome to yet another session by Product Space. Today, the topic is Claude for product managers. So since we have been in the product community for almost 4 to 5 years now, we have always looked into giving a lot of value to the complete community in terms of whatever is going on in the product management space and whatever you need to upskill in, right? So Claude, of course, being a staple AI tool for everyone now, we wanted to share specifically how can product managers utilize it. So please attend this session with that in mind. It's not a generic session, right? It's specially built for product managers, how you can use it better, and actually expedite your productivity and build things with it as well, right? So with that, I will hand over to Akhil, who is the founder of Product Space. He has mentored a lot of students along the way, and we've thankfully had a lot of people transition into product management roles and also upskill themselves in product management over the last 4 or 5 years. So over to you, Akhil.
Awesome. All right. Hey, hi, folks. Hello, everyone. And thanks, Sakshi. Thanks for the introduction. I've just wrapped up my other session, but yes, I'm sure this is going to be another decent session as well. Um, One thing I could see from the chat, I think we have folks from different background. We have product managers, students, developers as well. So we have folks from different roles, different verticals. I think mostly the folks who are there in the session, they are product folks, right? All right, I think let's get started now. First of all, thanks again for staying with us on Sunday afternoon. And I will ensure that your next 90 to 120 minutes, depending on how much time it will require us to build a product end to end. So let's begin the session. All right. So before we start, let me quickly set the agenda of the session. So what we're going to do is like in starting 5 to 10 minutes, we will try to understand the entire Claude ecosystem. And I will try mentioning in terms of whatever we are going to cover in today's session, right? And after that, then we will understand traditional product management in a nutshell, right? And then we will go ahead, we will build one product end to end from scratch using Claude Code, right? So that's the, kind of the flow that we are going to take in this session, right? All right, so now let's get started. Let's me just share my screen. All right, just give me 1 second. Here we are. All right, just give me. All right. So I'm sure everyone knows by now what Claude is. It's a product by Anthropic, and Claude has released various LLM models which are helping us do specific tasks, right? So let's start with that. Let's understand what all features, what all sub products Claude and Anthropic has launched in last couple of months. So what you can do is like anyone who want to kind of explore it on their own, I can also drop this in the chat. Please explore it from there as well. So Claude has multiple products. So one of the products that I'm sure all of you must be knowing about is Claude chatbot, right? Wherein similar to ChatGPT, you are interacting, with the application, and you can ask any questions to it. You can ask it to build code. You can ask it to build images, slides, anything that you would need to build it, right? But only one challenge which is there with Claude chatbot is like everything is just staying in those conversations. You always have to transport one thing from here to other depending on the use case, right? So but apart from that, for interactive or a conversational use case, this is an interesting product, right? I'm sure we must be using Gemini, GPT. It's a similar to that, but it might have different models. Some models could be better than others, and even other companies' LLMs could be better as well, depending on the use case, right? So we are not going to generalize it for a specific kind of purpose. Okay, all right. Let me just disable the annotation for now. 1 second. All right, awesome. Okay, so this is Claude chatbot, and if you'd want to see how it looks simple, just go to claude.ai. It's a simple, chatbot interaction. You ask it anything, and almost whether it is in the form of text, in the form of images, videos, it'll help you even generate that kind of content, right? Now coming to the second product, which Claude has, which is Claude Code, right? So Claude Code is something that we're going to utilize in today's session. Now, let me go ahead and explain what Claude Code is. So this is a explanation from a different setting, but let me just go ahead and open, a fresh box. Okay. So what Claude Code is, for everyone's understanding, it's a, coding agentic tool, right? So what this specifically means that Claude Code has the ability to write and manage codes within your IDE, right? What IDE is, IDE is these integrated development environment products like Visual Studio Code, Anti-Gravity, JetBrains, and all, right? And IDE basically is a combination of three features. One is text editor, right? So with the help of text editor, you will be able to kind of write and edit and manage codes as well. And then it also gives you a capability to manage all the projects files locally in your desktop. Apart from that, you can also kind of connect it with your GitHub account and can kind of directly sync it all the projects and all the files within your ID and the GitHub account as well, right? Local files plus you can write it as GitHub integration you can also do. Apart from that, now like in the current market, how these IDE has evolved, they also have now come up with AI native capabilities, right? So instead of writing code from scratch or managing code from scratch or debugging it, right, you can use AI capabilities which is inbuilt within these ecosystem. If the capabilities are not there, you can also download extensions, right? So that is something that we're going to say, right? Now, what we're going to do is like further, we will just understand how Claude Code works, right? In a nutshell, Claude Code works, and then we will look into different ways. Okay, let me just extend this. Okay, 1 second, folks. Okay, how Claude Code works, then we will look into how can you use Claude Code on different platforms. Right? So let's first understand how Claude Code works, right? And so basic understanding is like whenever you're using chatbot or ChatGPT or Claude, chatbot and all, what you do is like you give a prompt, right? And it gives you certain response, right? But as I have mentioned in starting, it is coding agentic tool, right? So it has some agentic capabilities as well. So let's try understanding what, all of these are and how it works, right? So first step that, 1 second, okay. First step that we do is like in any AI application, we give the prompt, right? But prompt is nothing but instructions that we give to LLMs that, hey, we want to do this, get us that information or do this action for us, right? What happens in Claude Code, whenever you're giving a prompt, right, then what is happening? The next step is like context collection. So along with the instruction that you're giving, it is also collecting the context. Here, in case of project, what context could mean is, let's say, collecting the project files, right? For example, if you would want Claude to change a specific part of a home page, right? So it needs to understand what is the existing home page. So it'll collect those code files and keep it as part of the context file, right? So it'll have the project files, sorry, not projecting, project files. And then it has, let's say, conversation history, right? It would also have, let's say, system prompt if there's any, right? And it will also have output of other agentic tools, right? All right. So while you would give prompt to Claude Code, before giving that instructions directly to a specific LLM or the model that you've selected, it does the context collection, right? Once context collection is done, then that entire output along with your fresh prompt is sent to a respective LLM model. And these all LLM models could be Sonnet or Opus or Haiku if you're using Claude Code, right? Depending on the use case, right, you can pick which model is kind of going to work best because the amount of tokens you're going to consume, your cost is going to be accordingly up and down, right? So your entire context along with the fresh instruction is then getting sent to a respective LLM. Your LLM is processing that input. So it's basically actioning on your context, right? Now, once it has actioned on the context, next what it does, it verifies the output, verifies the output, right? Once the output verification is done, then the output is shared to the end user, right? Then the output is shared to the end user, right? And this is something you can call it as a done stage, right? So whenever you're giving any queries to Claude Code and in whichever environment you're working in, this is the typical flow of information. This is how it happens, right? If you would want, you can also intervene during these context collection stages as well. You can basically ask the model to kind of, basically take additional input. You can upload new files. You can give it, let's say, additional PDF, additional context, more skills, right? Depending on the project to project, if you would want, while this context collection is happening, you can also stop the current conversation and add that information. And then your model would go ahead and kind of take the revised context, take it to the LLM, would work on it, give you the, kind of final output after verification, right? So this is how Claude Code works, right? Now let's see, how can you use Claude Code on different platforms, right? So one way is you can download Claude desktop application, right? How can you do that? Is you can go to Claude, this download. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, you can go here. You can, if you are on Windows, it'll show you an option of Windows. If you are on Mac, you can just click on download OS. It'll start downloading this, respective file, right? And whichever version, whichever operating system you're using, accordingly, you can choose the Claude, method of using it, right? Now, another way to use it is you can use it in a specific IDE as well, right? So IDE, as I've explained already, the Visual Studio Code or Anti-Gravity or JetBrains, right? Any specific, depending on the tech stack that your company is following, you can pick the respective ID. Apart from that, you can also work with Claude Code in terminal as well, right? We will see that how can you go ahead and work with Claude Code in terminal as well. While once I'll give the walkthrough of Visual Studio Code, I'll also cover that specific part, right? So terminal users, you can also do that. Apart from that, you can also work with Claude Code in browser as well, right? So there are four different ways you can work with Claude Code, right? So what we're going to do today is like we're going to kind of work with the IDE, because IDE is something which is coming with additional capabilities of managing the files. You can do a lot more action and capabilities which terminal only would allow to, right? Terminal also have its own pros and cons as well, right? But we are going to use a Visual Studio Code, right? Now, before I go ahead and we go ahead and pick our product that we're going to build today from scratch in terms of 0 to 1, right? We're going to understand. I'm going to help you. How can you download Visual Studio Code, right? So this is an integrated development environment that we're going to use. So you can simply go to type Visual Studio Code in Google and look for a specific URL. And just like the way you've downloaded the Claude Code, right? If you want to work in Claude Code, you can basically continue with that. You don't have to then download the Visual Studio Code. If you're working in ID, because that's I would say standard way of operating and building products across the ecosystem. That is something we are also following, right? So you can also click on download. Once it is downloaded, you can finish the installation setup. Just for now, go ahead and follow the recommended kind of settings that it is giving you, right? Apart from that, let me just share my entire screen, because then I can give you a walkthrough of Visual Studio Code as well. All right. So once you, okay, let me go full screen. All right. So once you basically finish the downloading and installation, this is the interface you would see, right? And I would, kind of ensure that I'll explain it in a way that it is also understood to the non-tech professionals as well, right? So don't worry about kind of, all of these features which are coming here, right? All of these terminologies, if it is difficult to understand and all, right? We will talk about the specific features, which is going to be really helpful for you, right? So this is the Visual Studio Code interface, right? So there are multiple ways to work with Claude Code on this, right? So one is like you can just go ahead and look for extension, right? Within extension, you can Claude Code for VS Code is also coming here. But if you want to, if it's not recommending you, then you can also search for Claude Code, right? And let's see what we get as the output, right? I already have it installed. Simply open this extension and install it, right? Only one thing you have to keep in mind, you will be only able to use Claude Code if you have a Pro or a Max plan, right? So for that, you can go to this and you can see the pricing. Sorry, I've opened the API pricing. 1 second. Yeah, this is where you can see the overview of the different pricing models, pricing tiers, which Claude Code has. Right now, I'm operating under Pro model, right? So if you'd want Claude to write and manage code for you, you at least need to have a Pro account, right? If you have a very recurring usage and all, right, and you don't want to kind of exhaust your token limits, and then I would recommend you go ahead and work with a Max plan, right? Awesome. All right. So you can pick whichever the pricing. I already have the price, this Pro model. That's why I'll be able to work with, right? Once you do the installation, then you will be able to see the Claude Code here in the left sidebar, or you can also see it in the top sidebar as well, right? You can also click here and you can start having a direct conversation with that, right? So I'll also explain that. Let me clean the screen for now so that it does not look overwhelming, right? So this is one way to work with Claude Code. Let me also remove this as well. This is a plain interface, and this is basically the left sidebar where I'm hovering right now. All your project files or whichever folder you have selected, you will be able to see all of those activities here, right? So this is one way to work with Claude, wherein you can go ahead, go to the extension in a specific ID and download the extension. The next step is like you can simply go ahead and do the sign in. Basically, you will not be able to kind of use it directly. You will have to kind of, do the sign up process as well, right? So let's say I'm doing the logout right now. Let's say switch account, right? So once you do the, extension installation, it'll give you this kind of interface, right? So what you have to do, click on this, right? And you can copy this and you would just take that URL and in your browser, just give it the right permission, right? So let's wait for a couple of seconds. All right, now it has done the configuration. Now you can see that we can start conversing with this. You can say, hey, hi, how are you? Let's see if it works or not. Yeah, it's doing well, right? So it's working, right? If you want to see that which model right now you're working with, you can click on / and you can type model and you can see that. Let it load the models. Probably it's taking time. Let's search for it again. Yeah, it might not be working at the moment. Not sure, servers might be busy, but we'll come back and see that. So once you click on / and model, it'll tell you what is the default model selected. And if you'd want to switch the model, you can also do that, right? Now we will go ahead and talk about the, how can you work with terminal, right? So there are multiple ways to work with terminal, and VS Code also you can work with terminal. You can just go ahead to the settings and look for terminal here, right? And it will open up the terminal within the specific project folder that you have created, right? How to work with Claude here? You can just go to Claude documentation, Claude documentation. Let's go here and let's see where it is giving us option to install in terminal. If not, we'll go back and we'll look for a terminal command. All right, now this is where you can see this, I'm using it in Mac OS. So it is, telling me, giving me a specific instruction. How can I do that? I'll have to simply copy this command and paste it in my terminal, right? So right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of, trying to install it within a terminal, which is within this project, right? You can also install it in your entire device terminal as well, which you can open from the computer settings, right? Now let's go ahead and run this command. Let's see what all it asks for. I'm telling you all the ways of installation so that you can choose which one works better for us, right? So let's wait for a couple of seconds. It's loading and probably processing. In the meantime, let me just see if it is working for other commands. It's not working as of now. We'll have to see that, what are. I'll try to probably reopen it. Let's first install it within the terminal, and then we will go ahead and do the building part. All right, so what it is doing is like it's installing the Claude Code native build latest, right? It's setting up the launcher and Claude Code installed successfully. Amazing, installation complete. And now your installation is complete. If you would want to call Claude, you simply have to type Claude, right? And you can see that it is now asking the permission whether you trust this folder or not. Now I say that I trust it. Now you can also interact with this from here. Let me type model here. Let's say if this model is working. Yes, here in the terminal it is working, but in the this graphical UI it is not working. Cool. You can see that it has already by default selected Sonnet 4.6. If you would want to change the model, you can do that as well, right? If you are working with, let's say, longer files and all, you can select the model with a higher context size, right? So let's say we are going to work with Opus 4.7, right? Now, whatever you're going to ask, it is going to send that to Opus 4.7 model and accordingly would give us the output, right? So you can say that, let's see if it is working or not. Hi, hello, how are you? Yeah, it's doing well. Basically, I was just doing a quick check whether it is working or not. I'll just exit the terminal. But since I know that most of the folks are from non-tech professionals, we're not going to operate around terminal a lot, right? Because it might be a little overwhelming as well. We'll close it. I was just explaining it for the folks who have gotten comfortable with this way of working. You can also try it from there, right? Now, okay, let's close this as well. Cool. So the one thing that you always have to keep in mind when you're working with VS Code, before starting any project, you will have to select a folder, right? And that is the folder, in which you are going to save all your files. Right now, you can see that some new folder is selected. How can you go do that is you can go to files and you can click on open folder and you can just click on new folder, right? You can say that building, let's say, new product. You can just give any name which works as per the product that you want to build and you open it. right? Now, all the files that you're going to work with are going to be saved in this specific repository only, right? So that is a basic, kind of understanding of the overall platform that we are going to operate around, right? Now let's go ahead and take any questions if there are in the chat. Let's quickly take one or two questions only. Please drop it in the chat on something that I have explained so far before we go ahead and move to the next part. To rush. All right. So I'll recommend that you go ahead and refer the recording. I'll quickly summarize what we have covered so far. So what we have looked into is what Claude Code as an ecosystem is. We're going to work with Claude Code, and okay, let me stop the chat. It's little distracting. Okay, I'll open the chat for queries in a moment. Let me just quickly summarize it so that everyone is aligned. We have looked into Claude ecosystem. We've talked about Claude chatbot that we, on a regular basis interact with. Then we have looked into Claude Code, right? Claude Code is a coding agent, right? And this is something we have further broken it down in terms of when you give it the prompt, how it works end to end and gives you the final output. Then we have looked into the overall ecosystem around which we will be operating, right? Then we have done the installation of a Visual Studio Code. Within Visual Studio Code, you can see that, this ChatGPT or a Codex capabilities is natively integrated, right? But we want to work with Claude Code. So for Claude Code, you can either install it in the terminal, right? Apart from that, if you don't want to do that, if you want to work with a proper user interface, you can search it from the extension as well, right? That is something that we have looked into so far, right? I hope we all are up to the speed, right? Awesome. How did you install Claude in terminal? So I will go here. I'll basically paste this guide in the chat, right? So whichever device you are using, just select the right operating system. I was using Mac OS and for Linux, right? So just go ahead on this page, right? The documentation page that I've shared, okay? And copy this command. Just copy this command, right? Open the terminal in your device. Let's say I'm opening the fresh terminal, right? I'm just going to paste this command here, right? And I'm going to hit enter. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. It will finish our installation, right? It might ask you to do the sign in later on if your account is not signed in, right? So let me also cover this part where, it is happening. It's the same way, we have done in Visual Studio Code terminal, but in your device terminal also, you can follow the similar process, right? You can see that setting up the Claude Code and all, right? Cool. Let's move forward. It'll finish the installation here. Let's wait for, yeah, installation is complete. Now you can go ahead and interact with Claude. How can you call Claude within your terminal? It's just by typing Claude and press enter, right? You have to trust the folder and you can, start interacting with this, right? So this is the terminal where it's asking the access. Let's give it, but we are not, let's exit this as well. All right, now let me clear the terminal. Cool. Now let's see that what we're going to do further in the session. I hope whatever we have covered so far is clear to everyone. Okay. All right, now let me open another box. Cool. So we are now going to kind of, build a product from scratch, right? So let's move this on top, right? Okay. Our agenda further is to build a 0 to 1 product, right? But before we go ahead and talk about which product, which problem we're going to solve, right? Let's quickly look into for another 5 minutes how traditional product management works, because the same processes we are going to follow, right? Because we have AI capabilities, we might be able to eliminate certain stakeholders. For example, in traditional product management, you would be working with designers, right? You'd be working with engineers, right? Because we have AI capabilities, we know how to use it to a certain level. We would be able to eliminate them, at least in this project purpose, right? We'll be able to design the entire project on our own. We'll be able to code it as well, right? Of course, with the help of AI, right? So what traditional product management process looks like, let me, okay, all right. Okay, traditional PM process. So whenever anyone joins any company, the first thing is goal assignment, right? Or KPI assignment, right? So whichever charter you're going to be assigned or you're going to work with, right? You've been told that, okay, in this specific charter or a project, right? You'd have to improve specific metrics by, this much percentage within a specific time, right? So that goal has been assigned, right? So once you have the goal, then the next step that you do is discovery. Within discovery, what you do is like the research part, right? You try to understand user problems. You try to understand, how You are going to compete with the existing players in the market. You're going to understand how the overall ecosystem is moving in terms of the latest technology trends and all, right? So you're going to do the detailed research, right? Once you do the research, then you're going to create your backlog, right? And then you would prioritize it, right? Because after, doing the research, you might come with 500 problems, 1,000 problems, 100 problems, right? But for you to meet this goal or KPIs, you might not be required to solve each and every feature or each and every problem, right? That is where you're going to go ahead and do the prioritization, right? Once you have done the prioritization, you would have, let's say, a set of features to build on, right? Once you have these features to build on, the next step is something you're doing the road mapping in terms of you would be creating a sequence in terms of, let's say, you have prioritized 10 features, right? So out of 10 features, how would you decide whether you should build 10th feature first or 5th feature first? How would you decide that ordering? For example, let's say you're creating Flipkart again from scratch or Amazon from, again from scratch, right? You would not build payment feature first and then you would build the recommendation or catalog engine and all, right? That would not make sense, right? So doing the right ordering is also important, and that is what you would do in road mapping, right? So once that road mapping is done, and let's say you've decided feature one to build on, right? Feature one to build on, right? The next step is you would go ahead and do the documentation, right? This is where the most popular part amongst PMs, right? You would go ahead and build the extensive PRD, and this is something you can understand this as a kind of a documentation or a Bible for down the line stakeholders like the designers or engineers to understand, okay, what is the exact requirement and what product manager would want me to ship exactly, right? That is something which comes in the PRD, right? Cool. Now, once your PRD is there, once you've finalized, then the next step is like you give it to a designer in a traditional product management ecosystem, right? You give it to designer, right? Design would give the UI, right? And of course, there would be to and fro between designer and a product manager to ensure that the requirements that have been given by a product manager have been placed properly in the UI and the overall user experience is also intact, right? Once the designs are finalized, then the role of engineers come into the picture, wherein engineers start, writing the code, gives your requirement life, you can call it that way. And then there's a testing happens with QA and PM both, right? And then you launch the product in the market, right? Then further process also happens. Of course, there's a launch strategy, you plan launch in different phases and all. We're not going into that, but just covering the, specific stages. Now let me just extend this relatively. Okay, cool. Now once you launch that, then you go ahead and collect the feedback from the market, right? And if you identify there are something which needs to be worked upon it or improved upon it, right? You go ahead and basically lead the improvement sprints, right? So basically, how would you improve your product and all? So this loop keeps going on in the market, right? So this is what, traditional product managers, this is the product development lifecycle which PMs follow, right? Of course, with the help of AI, let's say at this point, right, from sixth to seventh, right? In traditional product ecosystem, product managers used to give a direct requirement to designers. Now, what PMs are doing, they're using products like Lovable or they're using Bolt and probably anti-gravity or IDE as well to vibe code the idea. So instead of just giving the requirement, right, you are able to communicate your idea in terms of a visual interface, right? So it's I think much faster to collaborate, and it also gives a solid base for designers to work upon, right? And from that design, engineers then further go ahead, uses IDE with AI capabilities to do those codings faster. And one more thing that you would see in Claude Code, one second, Claude AI download. Yeah. If you'll see in the products, right, it also have introduced recently Claude Security. This is the product for testers, for debugging your code and all, right? For one-liner statement, I'll also explain what Claude Cowork is. So Claude Cowork is a personal AI assistant. So while you would install Claude Code within your specific device, you can select a specific folder and you can ask it any questions with respect to that project files and all. This feature typically is designed for non-tech professionals who just want to kind of get the specific information from the list of files or the projects that you already have in a specific repository, right? Cool. I hope this understanding is clear. Now we will go ahead and we will talk about, okay, let me take a quick pause if there are any questions. And from this point onwards, we will go ahead and talk about the AI product building. All right, now let me open the chat. Guys, okay, the next 2 to 5 minutes are yours. Any questions that you have, feel free to ask. Okay, how to validate which LLM is the best? There are different parameters. So there's a dedicated session on how to pick the right LLM model. Plus there are AI evals as well. I'm sure you would have heard about it, right? So, it's not a one-liner answer. It would require, I think, a decent amount of learning for you to be able to understand in terms of which LLM is best. All right, how Claude could be helpful for aspiring PM. You can use Claude for building projects, right? You can use it for, let's say, for practicing interviews, right? You can use it as a guide as well, but ensuring that as in what is the right direction in terms of you should use this platform, right? Okay. Okay. Please explain about IDE. IDE is an integrated development environment, which is typically being used by engineers or developers to write codes and manage those entire code files and all, right? And Opus, Haiku, Sonnet, these are the LLM models which are launched by Anthropic, which is an AI company. Okay. Will you use Claude Code app today or Visual Code Editor? We'll use Visual Code Editor. How can we, there's a, I think you can revert back to the changes. There are, different benchmarks which are selected. You can revert back to the previous one. Okay, ops queries, I'll not take it. What is Claude security? How Claude help for cybersecurity student? Okay, so cybersecurity is something you would have to, kind of explore separately. What Claude security is, this is a platform which you can, or this is a specific, agentic tool which you can use to, let's say, review your code, debug the security challenges that might be there just because you've used another AI. Because at the end of the day, what AI is doing, it's just predicting the next code block. So there's a possibility that you might get a lot of times a junk code as well, right? Cool. I think let's block the questions and let's go to the building part, right? I hope it was helpful in the interest of time because we have limited time to go ahead and build the products as well. We'll take remaining questions towards the end, right? All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and talk about what product we are going to do, what product we're going to pick. Okay. Let me extend this. Just 1 second. All right, so let me write the problem statement. So this problem statement is actually coming from basically my interaction with Product Space's growth team, right? So we are decently active on social media. On some platforms, we are trying to build our presence as well, right? So how our team was operating, right now is, let's talk about current way of operating, right? And let's talk about someone who's managing social media channel, Instagram, right? Let's say that, right? Okay. So of course, they would have a goal to increase the number of followers, increase the view of the reels and all, right? So that is the typical KPIs they would be operating around, right? So for them to figure out, okay, which is the best content, right? The first thing that anyone does in any role is do the research, right? So how, any team, or at least the team that I work with, I know about that, right? So what they do is like we look for, let's say, the folks who are building AI content, right? And whose presence is also kind of, quite widely appreciated in terms of the kind of content they provide, right? So there are, let's say, dedicated profiles that we take inspirations from, right? In terms of, there are probably, of course, there is also a way to create reels, right? If you'll just do a conversation reel, it might not work. Of course, there are ways to create reels. Let's not go into that. I'm also not an expert in creating reels, right? So basically for this specific persona for which we're going to kind of, do the brainstorming and build the product, right? What we're going to do is like, we are basically, pick those profiles we are taking inspiration from, right? And we are looking for high performing reels, right? And then doing the research, basically, trying to understand, right? Trying to understand how that, let's say, reel is different, or what, is resulting in those reels getting maximum reach, for example, beyond 50K views, right? Now, once we understood this, then the next step is like, create a framework for experimentation to see if same or similar formula works for us, right? And then the next step, once we have the formula, is like, start, basically depending on the trending content, right? What we would want to do is like identify, right, what should be our next real topics, right? And once we have that, then if you want, you can also take help of AI, take help of AI to create scripts, right? Or hooks or whatever it is, right? Whatever type of actionables are there from the previous research part, you would want AI to help you with that as well, right? And once you, and the next step is like, use the final analysis to build the real. Of course, the last part is something, of course, you can use further AI as well, wherein, there are different platforms like Haja and Higgsfield and all to create AI videos. But right now, if you would want to kind of bring human element here, you would use all of these analysis to manually record the reels. Right now, we are manually recording the reels, right? So this is the, step wherein our team is recording it and posting it, right? And observing the performance, right? Let's not go further into the post, launch stage and all, but that is how typically it works, right? You post it, you see that, okay, did my all of that research, did my all of that effort that I have put in to identify, okay, what's really working for other folks, right? Has it really worked for me or not? And depending on that, you would take the call for the next reel, right? Should we continue follow that, or should we continue investing more in our research, right? So this is the idea on which we are going to build our product, right? Cool. Anyone, I'll open the chat for a second if anyone wants to add anything to this. Any PM who's been working with marketing teams, right? If you'd want to kind of, add any specific pointers, I'll add it, because see, I'm going to take why I've been writing so many things here, because I'll be just taking this high level summary, and then I'll be kind of, taking this summary in AI to kind of, build a roadmap or the requirement document or whatever it is, right? So anything else anyone want to add in this prompt statement? Here you go. You can write in 10 seconds. All right. How will you get the insights back? We will see that, right? We will use different skills or different tools like Apify for scraping the real content, right? And then using AI to draw the insights from it, right? All of those things we'll be using. Okay, maybe take insights from engagements in previous contents, right? Maybe take insights from engagements in previous contents. All right, makes sense. You're not specifying the product goal. All right, we can also specify the product goal here, right? Problem statement before problem statement. Let's write the goal is to, let's say, identify the content which can get maximum views and directly influencing the number of followers, right? Let's say that is our goal, which we are pursuing. All right, cool. I think let's go ahead and build on this, right? We have enough information on this. How can we use Claude Code with an existing project in VS Code? Okay, we'll cover all of that, right? Now let's copy it from here, right? I've just copied it. Now I'll go to VS Code. This is a Visual Studio Code. I'll close all of it. I'll just start everything from scratch so that all of you are aligned. I'll close everything. And when you would, let's say, install, Visual Studio Code, this is the interface you will see, right? So you can also click open here. It'll basically, open a specific folder. You can see that I've just created this today only, right? So I'll just open this here. How can you use, Claude Code, an existing product in a similar way? You just open this, basically look for a specific project and directly start interacting from here, right? So now what I'm going to do is like, I've just opened a Claude Code interface, right? Installation and all we've already done, right? Okay. Now let's see that, is it allowing me to do the model selection now? Yes, it is doing. Opus 4.8. Yes, Opus 4.8 is the recent model, right? We are going to work with that. Apart from that, it also has different modes, right? You can see that it has basically ask before edits. So, if you want this agentic AI tool to make direct changes to your file, you can enable this edit automatically. If you would want the wanted to take the permission from you before making any specific changes, you can enable this mode, right? If you want the plan mode, basically, you don't want AI to start any kind of coding, just plan for the action that you've given, right? So the planning is something is going to happen once you enable this mode, right? If you don't know how to select the mode, just enable this auto mode. How can you switch it? You can simply just click on Shift tab. It'll, kind of change that. Apart from that, you can also click here, right? And it'll select the specific mode depending on, you can select it depending on your requirement. Apart from that, you can also select kind of, the amount of reasoning or the amount of kind of, let's say if you're working on a project which is quite complex, right? Then we would recommend you would want the model to put your maximum effort, right? If you're working with small tasks and all, work with low effort and all, right? You can decide. Ideally, if you don't know, it's good to keep this, I would say, cursor in the center, right? And of course, with time while you're working, because if you're unnecessarily exhausting the token just by selecting the extra effort mode, right, it would incur a lot of cost, right? So that is not recommended. So by doing experimentation, you can figure out, okay, depending on your projects, your tasks, right, which is the right, stage in that, effort bar, right? Cool. Now let's go ahead and close this as well. We have a clean interface here. I'll also, yeah, let's simply go ahead. Let's enable the plan mode, right? Plan mode is there, right? Okay, now let's give it, okay. Okay, below is the high level project, or let's say product, that I would want to evaluate. I would want to build here, all right? And can you evaluate the projects, let's say not projects, problem space, and ask if the requirements are not clear. Avoid assuming anything on your own, right? Ask me questions whenever start, right? So let's just, kind of ask AI to give comments on the high level idea that you have, right? So now let's just do that. This is where now I'll keep the chat mode on now for the, session, because a lot of times these, the entire project is going to take a decent amount of time to do, to work and all, right? So I will take questions in the meantime as well, right? All right, now let's wait for the output. It is going through different files. What is a markdown file? Markdown file is a file format, right? README is kind of a, file wherein you're just adding certain instructions, right? Cool. All right. Let it, it's actually looking at all. Can we check which prompt took how many tokens? I think you can check that. Apart from that, if you're working with, let's say, terminal, if we go ahead and open the previous one, right? Let's Claude. Yes, it was this folder. Build AI strategy framework for Instagram and all. So you can basically select, right? The previous conversation, and it'll tell you, how many tokens you've used. Cool. Now let's wait for, yeah, you can also mention, you can also see here, right, along with specific task that it is doing, how much tokens it is consuming. Cool. And during the session, you can also, Claude R means like if you'd want to kind of, revisit the history. Cool. All right. It actually has reference to my previous project, right? So now let me ask it, let me run this fresh. Okay, let me ask it, okay, can you review this plan on a standalone basis and do not reference to previous project until directly specified, right? Until directly specified, right? Now let's add that here and let's ask it directly. Okay, we'll take standalone means. So basically, this editor already have access to a lot of my projects folders and all, right? So while I asked the queries in the previous chat, it was looking to all other relevant projects and all. So I would want it to look into fresh perspective, as if we are building it from scratch. All right, cool. Now let's look into the final output. This is where you can see that the final output. Okay. Your core logic is sound, reverse engineer what already works, then systemize it. And of course, you can read it further. Gaps and risks worth fixing. Max view is the wrong North Star on its own. Could be. Views are easy to game and don't reliably convert to followers. A reel can hit and this. Yes, it is sharing its perspective by looking into a lot of content. Okay, cool. Now, let's ask. Okay, that's interesting feedback. That's interesting feedback, right? Can you give me a detailed product roadmap for me to build this product from scratch, right? I would want to know which all features we are going to build along the way to be able to get the desired, output, right? So now let's enable the plan mode here. Cool. Using Google Gemini on VS Code. I'm not sure Google Gemini, you can use it using VS Code, but you can do it using anti-gravity. I've not used it. We can check the extension. You can go ahead and check the extensions if there is, some kind of a Gemini code extensions. Is there any specific platform prompt we have to create a plan from? Yes, right now I'm using Claude Code only to create the plans. Cool. All right. Now it is asking me certain questions before finalizing the plan. Okay. Who is this product for? Is it an internal tool just for running your own Instagram content or a SaaS product, right? Let's call it as an internal tool. Otherwise, you can also create it as a SaaS product and you can send it to other creators wherein they keep on referencing from each other's content, right? Okay. What should the system actually optimize for as its primary success metric? Let's say raw views reach. How do we get the Instagram data? All right. Okay. We are going to use, let's say, Apify actors or APIs to get the Instagram data. You can refer other projects for reference. Okay, same thing, but yeah. Okay, what build approach do you want for the first version? AI assisted MVP, lean app, heavy use of LLMs. Okay, shift fast or full custom app. All right, let's go ahead and go for AI assisted MVP. Cool. Now it'll keep on asking me a couple of more questions as it, figure out, okay, now we need answers to more questions and all right. Cool. Now let's wait for a couple of seconds while it is giving me certain output. Okay, I think in Claude, each session has its own memory, right? I will not be able to access other session chat right now. No, Leela, each session definitely have that short-term memory, but at your account level, all of these platforms also maintain kind of a long-term memory, all right? So memory is a different topic, but just for your understanding. Can't we do this in ChatGPT? You can do this for sure in ChatGPT, but the quality of output might differ because Claude models have so far, in the entire market have, shown that they're so far much better than any other LLMs available in the market. All right, now let's wait for a couple of seconds while this is, giving us the output. All right, in the meantime, any other questions? Okay, you can use the voice input instead of typing. Yes, we can use that as well, Monish. Thank you. We'll use it probably next time. Yeah. Is there any specific prompt that I've covered? Cool. Sumit, that's a prompt optimization, right? As in, we'll not be able to learn everything about AI in one session, right? So there are, dedicated sessions, all of those, even agentic AI, LLMs, how to pick the right LLM models, fine tuning, evals, all are, dedicated to topic, which would require, special attention on it, right? Right now, we are focused in this session to leverage the capability of Claude and within that Claude code to build a 0 to 1 product from scratch, right? You can do that, Dhanush, if that helps for you to keep the progress tracked. You can also do that. That is why we are trying to build this roadmap here, so that we'll be able to kind of work with this project from scratch, right? Can we cross reference in a supporting role for another product? Yes, you can do that. Be released. Yes, you can do all the things that you are doing in a traditional production ecosystem. Yes, Claude asks you to pay because Claude Code is not with free version. if you want to use the Claude code, it would require you to have at least a pro version. All right, let's wait for a couple of seconds, right? And then for it to kind of, uh, give us the final plan, because this is a stage which takes a lot of time. All right, let's see what it is doing. Reference. Okay, I've asked it to reference the previous project in terms of how we would connect to get the Instagram data. All right, apart from that, let's say we are, where are we? I now have a strong picture. Clearly, a lot of this already exists and works, but we're going to build this from scratch, right? Now, this is where you can see that it has all the context. Now it has started creating a product roadmap, right? So now let's see it from scratch. If you have GitHub Copilot Premium, so what you can do is, instead of this, you can, okay, our model is here. We'll look into that. You can click, you can see this chat icon here, right? So you can use these inbuilt models, which comes with Copilot. If you were, kind of GPT Premium, you can use this, right? Instead of Claude Code, right? You don't have to purchase it separately. Cool. Okay. Now let's look into the plan before giving it the approval to build it, right? If you want to make it make any changes, you can also do that, right? So now let's quickly, glance through it. Okay. Product roadmap, viral, real intelligence, internal tool. This is the goal, right? Audience, internal tool. Okay. North Star metrics, data source, Epify actors for Instagram data. This is the build style. Okay, what we reuse that it'll not build, so basically if there are existing capabilities, it is going to use that. And the next step is, this is, it has created a roadmap in a way that there are different phases. So what you can do is you can basically give the instruction to the model that, okay, don't build everything at once, build, one phase at a time. And once that phase is built, then do the live testing. And if it is working, then amazing, then we move to the next step, right? Otherwise, if you build everything and if you debug again, it'll exhaust a lot of tokens, right? All right, let's look into what it has done. Consolidate the engine. All right, ingestion in real database. Okay, a list of inspiration profiles to track. Okay, so we'll share some Instagram profiles for it to refer. All right, it'll basically call this API. So it has also, created all of these, sub flows, which the model is going to reference from, right? All right, now let's ask it to build. Okay, build phase 0 and phase 1, right? And once done, let me know. Let's say, I will check before moving to the next phase. All right. Yes, don't worry, folks, about the resources and everything. We will be sharing to everyone post session. Yeah. All right. Now let's look into what all it is doing, right? Okay. So we have asked it to build it from scratch. Now let me close this for a clean interface. Okay, accept this plan. Let's accept it. Okay, I'll build phase 0 and phase 1 only, then stop, report back for your review before touching phase 2 plus. Let me reconfirm, again, it'll basically, that's what it did. And let's wait for a couple of seconds for it to start building it, right? So this is where it is doing the, all the coding stuff and all. And the moment it'll start creating new kind of files and all, it'll start placing all of this in this new folder, right? Now, if you would want to see a specific file, so you can just click on it and you can see that it is probably reading some specific files which are there, and then it'll start kind of, creating new files as well, right? So now let's wait for a couple of seconds for this to build. Cool. Okay, this is the phase 0. You can see that it has created a checklist, right? And it'll start doing one activity at a time, right? It'll finish phase 0, this step first. Okay, now this is where I'll have to be on the screen to keep on giving it the, permission to run these commands on the terminal. Cool. All right. I'll have to just do that. Yes, folks, I think the team will share towards the end of the session how can you get the recordings as well. No, you can't do this in a normal Claude Chat UI, right? You can just get that code, but where would you host it? Where would you use it, right? Pro version Claude. That's what, Sogata, we have seen. We are using Claude pro version only, right? So for referencing, I would recommend please look into the recording. And when we were talking about the installation part, that is where you'll be able to see, how to kind of install it and use it from scratch. It is possible. It is possible. I think you can go to project specific settings, right? But that is typically not required. I'm sure you would have heard many instances wherein yeah, there's some queries. Yeah, many instances wherein Claude has actually ended up making the changes to the production code, right? And a lot of times it has also deleted some production database as well, right? It is not recommended to give all the permissions at once, right? So you should know, what type of permission it is asking. Cool. During interviews of PM, will companies give access to these? No, they'll not give access during interviews. Why will they give access? We can do with the zero free mode in Claude. Okay, I'm not aware about that. Arshad, in Claude chatbot, you can just get standalone code blocks, but you'll not be able to kind of tie up all the code block in a way that it is a finished product. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the time permits how to host your Claude code project or entire code base, let's say in Vercel or Netlify. We'll see that. Gitika, that's a question for Google. I would recommend that you can go ahead and Google it and see which is giving you better pricing. Yeah. Claude Web, is it instantly accessible? Yes. Yes, you can access that skill on across Claude ecosystem if you're operating under similar account. Cool. Now let's wait for it. And this is where you can see in the entire project, right? It has created the to-do list. And from the to-do list, what you could look into, right? It is actually crossing all the specific stages that it has done, right? Apart from that, right? As I've mentioned earlier, right? Whatever code blocks or the files it will start creating, you will be able to access it from here, right? So this is the proper interface. All right, you'll have to learn a lot of things. Okay, let's not go into what code blocks are, folks. Let's kind of see it from a SQLite is just for your understanding is kind of a language that you can access that you can use to access the database and play around the data that you have and all, right? So we'll not look into okay what all different tech stack that is being used. Considering a lot of non-tech professionals are there, we'll just see that based on our prompts, based on our requirements, whether this platform was able to give us the output that we were looking for or not, right? Cool. All right. Now I think we have completed almost 40% of the project. Okay, Kshitiz, I would recommend a same question for Google. It's a, I think, relational database management system just to manage and play around, the data. Cool. All right. You can just Google it. You'll get a much more detailed answers if you'd want to learn around that, right? And that is typically for developers or engineers who would want to kind of learn it from scratch, right? Okay. It has, as I've said, it is actually creating the content and basically doing the review as well. So while it is doing the review and verifying it, it is identifying okay some code block is not required, so it is probably removing that, and all the files that it is removing, it is marking them in red, and all the files that it is introducing, it is mentioning them in green, right? So now let's look into this. All right. Okay, can you recommend some tools which can do this but are available for free before committing for any plan? Okay, I would recommend you can try and work with anti-gravity, right? So anti-gravity would give you decent amount of Claude model and Gemini models access as well for free, right? There's another hack as well in case of Gemini. Since all the project file and everything you're storing in your local device, right? Even if your tokens are exhausted, you can just sign out from your current Google account. You can use a different Google account and you'll be able to get the similar out, right? So you can try anti-gravity. It'll be similar interface, right? But apart from that, it gives additional agentic AI layer, which is like more non-tech professionals friendly. Cool. All right. Now it is still working. Let's see which it's still at this stage, right? Now let's wait for this to finish this. All right, Vishal, as I mentioned, there's a dedicated session in terms of how to pick the right LLM model. So you will have to kind of learn AI end to end for that. Right now, what you can do is like for a specific use case, you can just go ahead and Google it, and just for now work on that understanding, right? Apart from that, at a high level, you'll have to look into kind of reasoning capabilities you would require, right? And apart from that, the context uses, the pricing, the latency, the performance, hallucinations, biasness, right? So there are a lot of technical parameters. You'd have to evaluate your model before picking that, right? Cool. But only that's not it to that specific question. There's, as I've said, right, dedicated frameworks you would have to use. Cool. All right. Okay. Let's wait for a couple of more seconds for this to give us the final phase 0 and phase 1 in building. All right, now let's see that whatever we have done so far, excellent, clean end-to-end process, 10 reels stored. So it is actually looking into some of the profiles which I've given. Not the okay, exactly why. Okay, so it is doing some kind of an internal reasoning and kind of giving us the output in terms of which stage that it is onto right now. Cool. Now let's wait for a couple more seconds. Okay. Claude Cowork is, as I mentioned, it is designed for non-tech professionals, right? And if you'd want, let's say there's a kind of a sheet that you're maintaining of all your D2C brand e-commerce sales, right? And you can, open Claude Cowork, connect it to that specific project file and ask it to kind of, share you the summary of the sheets, Google Sheets and all, right? So Claude Cowork is designed as a product or a feature keeping non-tech professionals in mind. Claude Code is more towards developer, kind of friendly applications in terms of writing the codes. Is there, all right, I'll come to questions in a moment as well. Don't worry, we'll take all the questions. Now let's see where we have reached. Okay, it's still, working on some final commands. Okay, it is going to take time to build because it is writing the fresh course. You can see that now our code blocks have also extended quite decently. All right. Okay, now while it is building, I'll take questions again. Yes, Janvi, I tried vibe coding using meadow.dev. Gave a this is I know take a bit. When I checked the code, it had a lot of bugs, right? And when I checked the code, yes, sitting and resolving the bugs took a lot of time. Is there any learning curve in vibe coding and building? I would recommend Janvi. I'm not sure about meadow.dev because there'd be 1,000 tools available in the market, right? The very important point before even starting the to build any of the project is to look into which models you're using, right? If you don't know, if you have not upskilled end-to-end in AI, I would recommend just go ahead, ask that same question to Google, use the best possible models that are there because Meta.dev would not have their own LLMs, right? They are just a wrapper behind the existing LLMs which are there in the market, right? So they would have a lot of learning curve. Apart from that, if you'd want to just do the vibe coding, try Lovable, try Bolt. These are the products which have been in the market I think for almost more than a year or so, right? So they have a decent learning curve, right? Name of the free tool you mentioned, anti-gravity. Anti-gravity. All right, now let's go ahead and see. Okay. What I built, a zero dependency Python CLI tool. And okay, it is doing all of these. And this is the engine foundation that it has built in terms of files that you can see here. Okay, phase one ingestion and all. It's created a watch list batch scraper wherein it is trying to scrape the content from Instagram, right? And then it is doing the transcription of transcribing all the reels. And then what it is doing, refreshes views count only. So basically trying to look into the metadata which is coming with that specific content, right? Awesome. Right now, of course, you can go ahead and test this out in command line and all. We are not going to do that. Now let's ask it to, okay, let's move forward with the next phase. Right now, I have not specified which tech stack I'm going to kind of use it, to build it. But if you are kind of, following a specific tech stack in front end, back end and all, you can mention it. So I'll try to follow that specific tech stack while writing the codes. Cool. Now let's see what it is doing next is let me read the reference classifier analysis code I'm adopting from. So it is basically referring to the code that we've already worked upon, so that we'll be able to kind of get a streamlined output. So let's wait for a couple of seconds while this finishes itself. All right. In the meantime, can you please show how did you enable the plan mode? All right, Geetika. So for enabling the plan mode, you can click on Shift tab. Apart from that, You can also click here, right? The moment you click here, this window opens. You can select whichever mode you would want to enable. Cool. Suppose at this stage, if we have less tokens, or if our plan has any extra steps, can be updated to skip. Of course, you can update it, right? You can just give it a prompt, you give it that instruction, it'll do that, right? Can't see Claude MD in skills file. It'll start building on it. I don't think we have reached to that stage, right? And it's not necessary. Skills are nothing but a set of instructions which we are going to use on a repeated basis, right? And Claude MD file is nothing but a instructions or a requirement or a context file. So my project already had all of this information. So it's referring from that, right? If you give it a specific instruction to create the Claude MD and skills file, then it'll go ahead and create that, right? Cool. All right. Let's see where we are as of now. Okay. Even for the phase 2 as well, you can see that it has broken down the specific features into various subtasks, right? And it is trying to attempt one task at a time. I'm not able to get the authorization code in IDE. Okay. Kawaljeet, you don't need to use the authorization code. Just take that URL and open it in a browser wherein you've already had the Claude signed in. That is something which will work easily. If it is not working, try to see if you're receiving the code in spam and all. All right, cool. Interesting. All right, I guess we've covered almost all the questions. No pending questions. When do we create skills and agent basis the use case? Okay, so you create skills whenever you would have a recurring use case, right? So let's say you have created a skill of doing the competitor analysis, right? And whatever framework you have created, and then all the projects that you're going to work upon, let's say for next 3 months, 6 months, or a year or so, right? You'd want to use the same framework. So instead of giving those prompt again and again for doing that competitor analysis, it is recommended that you create and save it in the form of skills so that you can reuse it again and again. Okay. All right. I hope that makes sense. Cool. All right. So you can see that it is writing the code. It is doing the verification, and it is trying to give us the more cleaner code. Okay. It is going to take a little bit of time, so we'll have to be a little patient. Yes, Nitish, I've kind of given an answer to that, right? You can skip that, right? You can give it a specific prompt that, hey, skip this step, right? I don't know what specific context is, but if you would want to skip any specific task, or if you'd want to kind of understand your kind of token usage, you can check how much tokens you have kind of left in this entire session length as well. And if you'd want, you can also compact the context window as well, right? Compaction of the context window would help you kind of save the tokens in the fresh request that you're going to make. All right. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll tell you how to compact it as well. Let's finish this phase 2, right? So in the meantime, while it is working, I'll quickly explain how this fresh conversation is actually working. Whenever you would notice that I've given it this prompt, right? Let's move forward with the next stage, right? So at this stage, what is actually happening in the LLM? It is taking my previous this instruction. Apart from that, it is taking all the previous conversations in the thread that we had. Apart from that, all the relevant code blocks that is there, right? It is going to identify which are the relevant code blocks, and it'll take all of that code block and send to a specific LLM model. Let's say we're using Opus 4.8 in this case, right? So every prompt that you're giving, it's a fresh execution happening on that specific model. All right. Compaction of the context affect the kind of output? No, I don't think. Sometimes it can. You cannot generalize it as well. But these models are kind of intelligent in a way that it is trying to kind of remove the information which is not relevant, but this kind of information which is just resulting in tokens wastage and all. Right. Cool. All right. Okay. Anthropic API key copied from Insta Edge environment is invalid. Okay, let me just give it a Anthropic API keys. How can you get it as, just give me 1 second before I come to the questions. Let me get the API keys. So this is the interface console dot, I'll just click on get API key. You can name it specifically, let's say Insta product, right? So that if you have multiple API keys, you'll be able to kind of identify which, this API key is being used for which specific project, right? In the meantime, I'll just also this, okay. I'll paste a new API key. Okay. And let's wait. Let me, finish this one and then we'll come back to questions. All right. Okay. It is asking me to paste that. Okay, why this is required in the middle of the process is because see, if you look into the roadmap, right, what is happening across these phases are, it is trying to build a specific part of a product one at a time, right? So this Anthropic API key, what it is going to do is like, see, once you scrape the content from Instagram, right, you would need a specific LLM to do the insight generation, right? And that in this specific process, I'm going to use, let's say, Anthropic LLM, right? So that is why it is asking me this API key. Okay. Now let me just paste it here. Okay. In terms of, there's one more question. Okay. On what basis we create an API? We don't create API key. We are basically, of course, we create, but we take it from the, respective LLM platforms. You're taking the API keys from here, right? So whichever LLM you would want to use, if you think, let's say, OpenAI is better for insight generation for a specific use case, you can go ahead and take the API key from OpenAI platform. If you think Opus is better, since this is all about Claude, so we're just using Claude, functionalities, Claude models. Right? So of course, right now what I'm doing is like I'm just working on the plan that the Opus has given us, right? But when you're actually building a product, you would have a lot more context in terms of how this product is going to work end to end across different stages, right? And you also going to kind of work with these LLMs to finalize the roadmap. Right now, we're not looking into a lot of things that the model is doing. We're just giving it permissions blindly so that we'll be able to kind of see the final output, right? So that is the end goal as of now, as per the session, because we have to kind of get to the final product within the time frame that we have, right? But when you're working an end-to-end product, you'll have to kind of not do things at this speed. You'll have to take enough breaks in between. All right. Local models. What do you mean by local models of Anthropic? Do you mean open source models? All right. Cool. Looks like our phase 2 is also completed. Let me give it a permission to start working for phase 3 so that we can save time. Okay, move to next step. While I'll give you a walkthrough of what it has built, move to next step. Okay, before that, let's do the compaction, right? Let's click on context, right? So you clicked on the forward slash and type the context, and this is what you can see, right? Out of 1 million tokens, you've used the 12% of it. Out of that, 2,500 tokens are getting used for system prompts, system tools, skills, messages, right? And you still have this much free space, right? Now, I think this is not the right stage to do the compaction. Compaction is typically required once you've exhausted 20% of the tokens. But if you'd want to do it, you can just click on compact forward slash button and compact, and it'll start the compaction process, right? We'll do it later on, once we require it. Right now, we have enough context window to, operate around this. Cool. All right, now let's move forward to the next step. Let's move forward to the next stage. In the meantime, let's see the final output. Okay, the features that matter. Okay, it has created all of these features: outlier score, contrast set per creator. So basically, it has got into the depth of those economics in terms of how these reels are getting LSS scored in terms of engagement matrices and all, right? And let's see what still we have. What the analysis found: real output, ranking by outlier score. It is creating some kind of outlier score. I don't know what it is exactly. We'll have to look into the real roadmap to look, what it has built on. All right, what the analysis actually found. Okay, both overperforms over. All right, I think it is trying to fetch, some content from the previous profile. I think this profile of Bhavna Kumar I've already given, right? So based on that, it is trying to perform the, analysis and doing the testing as well, right? Let's wait for the, product to build, and then we'll try to kind of run it, end to end from scratch, right? So let's see that how many more steps pending for us to finish this. Just give me 1 second. Okay. let me. All right, this is our roadmap. You can open it from here. I'll just close this. Also close this. Okay, this is the roadmap, right? Anyone who's confused in terms of what all it is building, we can look into here, right? So it has built so far, ingestion and real database. So basically, this is where it'll be able to kind of take that specific real content and save it in a specific tables, right? And pattern intelligence. This is where you would have noticed that it was asking me Anthropic API key. So all that real content that it'll get, all the transcription it'll do, right? It'll basically send that information to LLM to do the intelligence analysis on it, and whatever the output it'll give us, right? And the third step is where when it is generating ideas for us, right? In terms of based on the analysis that it has done for the competitors, right? Or the profile that you have shared, right? How we can kind of figure out which are the next topics that we can follow, or it'll also give us some kind of hooks that we can use, right? And also probably generate full scripts as well, right? Cool. And then the last stage is basically experiment and the feedback loop. So we are almost at the this phase 3 stage. After I think in another next 5 to 10 minutes, we should be able to test this product live end to end, right? Okay. Let's quickly look into voice profile storage. Okay. DB helpers. All right. All right. All right. Works. Okay. So it is, as I mentioned, it is also doing the testing of all the features that it is building as well, right? Cool. Now let's wait for this to build at least till phase 4. I think after that, we will be able to kind of, see the final project stage, right? Cool. Okay. Now let me go ahead and see if there are any further queries. Okay, can you take one more session on vibe coding by using free tools? We'll see, Kwaljit, if this is part of our, open sessions agenda. I'll definitely give the feedback to the team. How are we referencing the Insta profile information? You'll see everything. Shadab, just wait for a couple of minutes. Once we have the final product, then we'll try to give a one specific Insta profile information, and then we'll see how it is working end to end. Right? Cool. All right. Okay, we should be able to create instructions and architecture markdown files. Yeah, if you would wanted to follow a specific structure, then you definitely should share it. Right? And productos.dev. Yes, you can use that platform. I think this is built by our cohort members only, right? So I think this is a platform which is going to help you create a lot of designs. So do try it out. Interesting product. Also do something more. Yes, Kushant, for sure. All right, thank you. I think let's move here. Okay, now let's ask it a question. Okay, before we go ahead and continue building, right? At which stage we should be able to use the product locally? Let's ask this. All right, now what all it has done while it is thinking about this will take a lot of time because there's a lot of context that it is processing for every conversation. Okay, what I built, it has generated topic recommender, pattern constrained reel generator, a voice profile storage. So basically, with your Instagram reel contents, scraping, it might be also sharing the voice files as well. And topic recommender, this is our final wins of this specific feature. And then the next, next stage is this. Okay, there's a piece that turns the tool from a generator into a learning system. We don't want that as of now, I guess. Let's try to. Okay, the real question is how you want to use it. The honest. Okay, now let's see it from scratch. Okay, you can already use it in locally right now. Everything built in runs end to end on your machine. I've been verifying. Awesome. I think that works. We don't need to build any more phases, but we need to now see that, okay, do we have enough or a decent UI for us to try it end to end? We'll see that. What can you do locally today? Okay, what usable means at each stage. All of these phases are done. Interesting. It's okay. It's a CLI, not an app. Okay. Now, okay, I want to use it in web browser, browser, not via CLI, right? So Can you see if it is, sorry, if it is ready to be used in browser? Of course, we can go ahead and test it in this terminal, but I think that might confuse a lot of folks. We'll try working around everything in a non-tech professional way. Kind of, we'll try to get some kind of a local hosting URL, and then we'll try to work around these products there. Cool. All right, let's wait for a couple of seconds for this to assess the current project structure and give us the final output. Okay. Can we also ask you to provide the system design? Of course, you can do that. Let us finish the building, then we'll try to see that. Certificate questions later, folks. All right, just checking any more questions there. Awesome, no worries. All right, I checked. Here's a straight answer. No, it's not browser ready yet. All right, the tool is currently 100% command line. There's no web server, no front end in the project. Everything is in Python. All right, so today the only way to run it is in the terminal. Okay, how should I build the browser version? Okay, lean local web app. All right, I think let's use this one. This is the faster and the recommended one as well. Okay, so far it has created all the code blocks, all the files. If you want to run, each of these features standalone in a terminal, it'll work, right? But that is now, you're going to ship or hand over that project to a marketing professional, right? They're never going to use it, right? We would need a proper clean web UI for us to be able to use it. And that is the final stage of this project that we are investing our time into. Let's see what plan it makes for our this query. Or we have asked this question. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Either it'll give us the plan. I think it'll directly start the building process. Yes, I guess yes. Cool. Okay, so what it is doing right now, building a zero dependency local web app. First, I'll refactor the ingestion logic out of CLI into core. So both the CLI and the web server share it and build the server plus user interface, right? All right, cool. Now point the CLI. So again, for the entire platform to be able to compatible to be hosted on web UI, right? It has identified that okay, some changes are required. It has made those code block changes, right? And you can see that removed lines, you can see that inserted lines. Apart from that, you can also see here, again, a sub roadmap created in terms of different steps, right? So it's basically doing one, task at a time, right? So give us, I think, 2, 3 more minutes, and after that, we should be able to, kind of try it out on the web browser. And there's still a possibility it might not work, and that is where we will go ahead and try to do the debugging as well, right? If it comes to that stage. Can you provide a generic format or architecture on how and what consideration should be taken into the cloud code? Shadab, interesting question. This session has a specific purpose. We will share all the resources with respect to this, right? But I think the ability to create an end-to-end product, it'll require, I think, a lot more than 2 hours to understand each and everything from scratch, right? So it'll require a lot more learning curve. All right. Okay. How do we connect Claude to GitHub integration? You can see it here, somewhere here. Yeah, this is where you can, connect to the GitHub integration. All right. Cool. Now let's see where are we in the project. All right. It's basically the first step is done, which is when it was refactoring the code. You can see the refactor that done. Now the web server with the background job runner and JSON API. This is something it is working on that, right? It is, you can see that it is writing these server files. Yeah. And yeah, any developers in the room, if you think that, okay, certain way of writing the code is not something which is as per the expectation or not as per the tech stack or the standard that you've been following, you can interrupt the flow, give those feedback and ask AI to reconsider it and start building further, right? So you can do all of that. Cool. We are building everything on Python. We are not following any other, kind of other tech stack in terms of, let's say, having a separate front end, back end. We're just using all the Python libraries and Python interface for this. Okay. Let's see where we are in this. We're still on the server file, I guess. Can we operate on Android, please? Yes, you can build this entire product on Android. For that, you have to, I guess, download Android AI Studio. And that is again, of course, you can do all of that, but it'll have a decent learning curve, right? You'll have to spend a decent amount of time, to be able to kind of, make this entire code base Android compliant, right? Right now, it is just creating specific skills, specific features, which will help you, kind of get those goals that you would want to achieve. Apart from that, right, this, entire code base, apart from the, let's say these features or analyze files, all these skill Python files that you can see here, right? Uh, it is basically trying to follow a structure which will give you the web UI, not the Android application. For that, it'll require a lot of rework as well. You can do that. Okay, quick question. How easy would it be to build the front end in Lovable and integrate with our backend here? Okay, it will be, I think you can do that. Lovable also you can use it, but I think in Lovable you need to use, I think, pro versions. If you have, I think Lovable credits. One challenge with Lovable, I think all of it credits gets exhausted much faster. I would recommend JG specifically because I know you've been part of the program, right? Stop using Lovable, right? If you have any queries with these sessions, right, have meet in another query session, right? Because these platforms are something which will give you additional capabilities, right? What Lovable is actually doing, it is taking your prompt, giving it to Claude, and then giving you the final output, right? So VS Code is also doing that, right? But this is where you have much more capabilities. Yeah. All right. Can we Shadab? I don't know why you would want to know that. I would recommend why don't you try it from scratch and see that if that plan works. Of course, you can change it, but it would end up exhausting a lot more tokens because if you change it midway, the entire refactoring has to be done in terms of whatever you have built so far, right? Whatever you've built so far has to align with the new changes, right? So if you have so many tokens to experiment in between, please do that. But ideally, it is recommended you fix your plan. Kind of you should have everything kind of ready in terms of what you would want to build. Then go ahead and start this execution step. Cool. All right. Now let's wait for a couple of seconds to. I think we are almost done. Let's see. Yeah, we have completed. I think 3 out of 5, 60%. Last 2 tasks pending. All right. Do you use plan mode and created? No, Vishal, I did not, uh, created plan.md file. Don't worry about these files. I know in a lot of YouTube videos, many people, emphasize on Claude.md file and all. Your PRD is a MD file, right? It is equivalent to that. What is a Claude.md file or plan.md file, right? It is just a set of instructions in the form of, let's say, a system prompt and all, right? For you to give additional context to your model, right? You can give context via other ways as well if you'd want that, right? So don't worry about those specific, .md files, right? You can create other MD files as well. Cool. All right. Now let's see where we are. It's now usable in the browser. Let's see that. Oh, yeah, that was expected. Okay. Okay. Can you check if the server is running? Because I was not able to load port 8000, I guess. Yes. So basically, as per, all the work, okay, I think, yeah, we had to run this command prompt, then only it'll run it. It'll work. Okay. If you don't know how to work around, terminals, don't worry. Just give it a plain, English language prompt. It'll do that. It'll run that, command for you. Okay, nothing is listening. There are no serve processes. It is just, asking permissions to run those commands. All right, you can see that it is starting the server and then it is verifying now. Okay, now it is running. You can check that, open this. Now let's go back. Let's reload this. It is working now, right? All right. Now, since it's a new product, right? So can you tell me how should I use it? Okay, now let's see. While it is giving us the roadmap, right? Cool. All right. Now let's see what it is. Watch list, Instagram handle. Okay. And okay, you can add all the Instagram handles looks like here. And apart from that, okay, anyone wants to give any Instagram handle? Let's see if it works or not. And don't give yours, give off some creators. In the meantime, let me also take it from my phone as well. Okay, adventure at the travel monk. Okay, let's try this. All right. Okay, so where we went. All right. Let's try to add this. And let's try to see if the scraping is working here or not. Okay, Happify scrape, limit 10, basically 10 reels per request. Of course, you can create a better UI as well, right? We have not gone into that, stage, because if we would have followed exact product development process, trust me, all of this would have taken minimum 6 to 7 or even 8 hours, right? We had to finish this in probably within 2 hours. That's why I'm not focusing on the UI specific part, but just looking into the functionality. You can see that it is also mentioning all the activities that it is doing. It is now scraping from this handle. Okay, why does scraping? Okay, no, there's some issue. Now let's take this. Okay, now let's write this in the chat. Uh-huh. No reels yet. All right, now let's wait for this to. Okay, can you check? Let me give it a voice command. Okay, sorry. Let me first see whether it has done this or not. Okay. Okay, so I have added one Instagram profile for scraping the fresh content, right? But while I was looking into the progress bar, I have noticed that it was still scraping the product space reel, right? So can you please see, if it is hard coded, right? Or is it actually taking from the input which the user is giving before they click on the scrape button, right? So while as a user, once you have added an Instagram account, once you click on a scrape button, it should actually start the scraping of that specific Instagram account only, not of any hard-coded one. Can you please check this before making any changes? Do the RCA first, and then we'll see what to do. Okay, now we'll do it RC, and now let's give it this prompt. Right? So it has done something, but looks like it has still, while we have added this account, right? It did not do the scraping of this. It did of the product space account. One possible reason could be it would have had hard coded this, right? And that is why it has kind of pushed up in the order. If we go ahead and check for the product space one, right? It has, kind of scraped some data. There's a possibility that we might not be getting, all the information. Okay, so it has scraped 8 reels. From these 8 reels, it is telling, okay, what kind of hooks that we are using, curiosity gap or a demo, and formats, talking head, right? So it is giving you that information, and it is recommending you next reel topics as well after analyzing this specific creator's content, right? And these are the brand voices that we are, following, or this specific Instagram account is following, right? You can build it in a better product format as well. Of course, that is something which will require, a lot of time as well in terms of creating a detailed PRD. But this is, I think, decent enough in terms of building capabilities, right? Of course, this could be enhanced really well. Now let's try to see what is the challenge that we are facing, in terms of why that specific account was not scraped. Let's see that. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Let it do the, debugging. All right. Okay. What I found, the watch list currently has 3 creators. Okay. And this is self, yes. Okay. I don't know what the self means as of now. last scraped, never. This is the one you just added. Okay. It's not hard coded. It's a combination of two things. You clicked scrape all. Did I do that? Oh, okay. I did not do that. I think I clicked here. But let's see. Scrape only that one grader. Scrape all did exactly what it says. Okay. All right. So to be clear, the code does use your input. The per row scrape button scrapes exactly the handle you added. Scrape all. Okay. Interesting. Scrape all scraping is correct behavior given that account is in the list. The real problems are the two buttons aren't visually distinct enough. Okay, quick cleanup, remove the leftover. All right, now let's see that if it works or not with this. Let's say that I've clicked on this. Oh, I think, yeah, now it is looking into this. By mistake, most probably I might have clicked here, but let's see that. Right now it is mentioning adventure travel monk only. Let's see that if it is able to scrape the content of this profile or not. Mhm. All right. Okay, many profiles. We'll see. Let's first see that if it is working for this or not. Got 10 items from Epify. This is the current stage. All right. Let's wait for the analysis as well. All right. Let's see if it has given us something. Adventure. Yes. Yeah, earlier I think this information was zero, right? While you're doing the research, I think some reels are not, it's basically fetching in different orders. But what we see right now, at least some information is coming, right? Some reels are working. And this is the analysis or the playbook, or you can also do this by views as well, right? How many views this specific channel got. I don't know whether they are actual views or not. You guys can check, but this is where it is scraping that specific profile content, using the Epify APIs, and then it is giving you the end-to-end analysis of that, right? So yeah, folks, we have the final output here. We'll take now questions. I hope the session would have been helpful in terms of how to use Claude Code extensively for building a 0 to 1 product, right? Of course, there are further stages wherein you would launch it, you would create a backend probably on Superbase or AWS, or you can launch it on let's say Netlify, Versal and all, right? But all of that is going to take a lot of time, right? And of course, we can do that. But for that, I would recommend do check out our detailed AI program or AI PMF program, right? That is where we do, I think, each and every step in I think much more depth, much more detail. So that's just a recommendation. You guys have to see at which stage you are. But I'll take questions if any from the audience. I hope you were able to see that. So this was a real problem, right? That I have been interacting with the marketing team and product space, and this is the I've identified. Okay, the current way of working is actually resulting into wasting a lot of time, right? But what if we can build a product wherein instead of the team going ahead and kind of doing that activity on a manual basis, right? Why not there's an AI product which is doing all of these analysis and giving this information on a recurring basis, right? The product actually that we have built, it's much more extensive, right? I don't have it handy as of now. I'll have to check for it. But if you guys would want, along with the resources, we'll also share that with you. You guys can try it out. They will have some limitations in terms of one usage per account because yeah, it is going to charge in terms of tokens as well. Awesome. All right. Now, we'll take questions. How can we deploy is additional step, right? We can consider that as of now out of scope of this session. Claude for Product Masterclass. Right now, we'll summarize it with something that we have built. As in, we have gone ahead from the fresh idea, right? The real problem, right? Into kind of creating a detailed roadmap, right? And of course, as a product manager, you would have, let's say, put in a lot more effort in terms of initially figuring out, do you want to build an application? Do you want to build a web app? Or which tech stack you're following, right? Once you've done that, then you ask it to create a kind of execution roadmap, right? So that is what, I hope this was helpful. We'll share a lot more such use cases across the weeks. I'll take one or two questions from the chat. can we build large scale product using Claude without developers? You can do that, Vishal. People are already doing it. But while you're doing it, a couple of things you'll have to keep in mind. One is the security aspect, and apart from that, infra aspect as well, right? Because of course we can build these products, right? But we'll have to still do the I would say regressive testing, right, across different technical use cases. And also you need to understand, okay, whether your product is capable enough to handle 10,000 users at once, 5,000 users at once, 1 lakh users at once, right? So all of that kind of infra level, cloud level, you should have that kind of knowledge to be able to kind of use it at that scale. So you would still need tech stakeholders, right? But yes, you can build it for sure. Many companies are using it on a day-to-day basis. How to keep consistency among attempts to make one particular app like we built. I would say, practice is something which really helps. Apart from practice, I think right way of building is very important. Whatever you've learned, here in our AI product management program, we cover this content across, I think, 10 to 12 hours, right? So it's quite extensive. For each step of the product development life cycle, we are putting dedicated effort, right? So that you understand, from a building perspective, right? How can you go ahead and build a product which could be launched in the market, right? This is the product which is for internal use case, right? But you would not be able to launch this product, right? There's like a lot of learning curve, difficult to understand as well, right? So it depends, like, what is your end goal, right? But yes, you would also need to identify what are the gaps in your learning, plan a roadmap to fill those gaps, and keep on practicing. All right. Thank you. Please do leave your feedback in the feedback form. Just waiting if there are more questions to me. How to host my Claude.js file out of the scope of this session, Navid. You can ask me any questions with respect to what we have covered in the session. Does Product Space provides premium paid tools to candidates? Yes, we do provide, not of all the tools, because you do not need, premium version of all the applications, right? Probably for agentic AI applications you would need. So we do provide that. Apart from that, in the program, we work with anti-gravity, right? So there are, enough ways to not even pay and build quite extensive product with anti-gravity. The entire Product Space CRM that we have built, right? We have built it without a paid plan. We've done it, I think, last 2-3 months back, right? And we've done it just on anti-gravity with a free tier plan. What do you think about the product engineer role nowadays? I think product engineer roles are good because you are weighing the responsibility of product managers and engineers as well. But I would say that the ways of working are completely changing, right? And the way I have been seeing the companies probably laying off in last 2 to 3 months, in fact, how the entire market is operating, trust me, it's scary, right? You won't believe Walmart in US. I don't know, I should disclose this or not, but before believing it, go ahead and validate this. This is from one of my friend, have laid off 400 non-tech professionals, right? PM was not major part of it. Most likely, analysts, program managers, right? Ops folks and all. I think they had a team strength of roughly 650 and couple of projects combined. Out of that, they have, I think, removed these many, right? So this was quite scary, right? Across it is happening because AI is really, creating a meaningful change, right? Of course, it is not at a stage wherein it can completely replace. That is not the case. But yes, it's quite scary how the market is going, and how it is evolving. And please, I would recommend, it's okay. It's your call if you want to join any program or not. That is where you'll get the structured learnings. But please find a way to be AI competitive in the market, right? Please find ways to ensure that you're not less than any other candidate who is competing for the similar role, right? Because the other folks that you would be competing with, they might be going ahead with probably extensive product that they have already built. And if you really want even a chance for second round or a third round, you need to showcase that you can really use AI to build solutions, build products. Not only this, you should also have the technical foundations as well. Tool usage is fine, right? But technical foundations are also very, very important, right? Awesome. Just a quick question here. We can also automate this, correct? Let's say I hard code some IDs. Yes, definitely you can do that. That's a very easy task, right? if you were able to build all of this, of course, see, whatever I have built right now, it is taking a lot of reference from the project that I've already done. If I would have built it from scratch, it had taken a lot of time. I already have some of the skill files for competitor analysis, for doing this, scraping the content and all, creating a content calendar. I think we've not reached to that stage and all, right? So you would need detailed skill files and also a lot of upskilling is still required. What I meant to do to tell you and show you in this is like, you can actually solve real problems with AI, and these problems would actually create impact, right? If you pick the right ones. Yeah. Okay. Schedule of the course, Anant. I think we have weekend sessions. I would leave it to Sakshi to explain about the program. I would say bye for now. Have a nice weekend, folks, and see you in the next weekend sessions. We'll plan it soon. I hope this was helpful. Please do leave your feedback. I guess all the folks will be sharing the feedback. I will ensure that I'll share all the skill files that I've created, so that you can start and build it, on your own as well, right?
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. Over to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, I've shared the feedback form again. Please, if you've stayed on till the end, right, do spend just 30 seconds to 40 seconds to fill the feedback form as well, so that we know how did you find the session and what were your overall learnings like. Additionally, for people who have questions about our paid cohort, so if you don't know already, we have our paid programs as well, which is specially in terms of helping people crack product management roles in the current age. So it includes AI related concepts as well. So it's overall a 14-week curriculum, wherein we cover, half of it is for your product management core skills, and the rest half is for AI as well. So as part of the end of, the course and your project, you build a complete working product end to end, one of which you saw as well. It was just a glimpse, right? It is much more in detail in terms of what you build. Okay. So if you're interested in checking out more about the paid course, if you're genuinely someone who wants to get into AI PM roles, you do need guidance in terms of what is being asked now in the market, because how interviews used to happen previously for PM roles have completely changed. All right. So we cover end to end in terms of how you need to prepare for PM roles. So even if you have no experience in product management, you can, of course, get started. We only take working professionals. We hardly take any students. And if you're already in product owner or PM roles as well, we have, like Akhil said, extensive content on AI, because you need to know AI concepts now as well, because every company, whoever is taking interview, right, they are asking you AI related questions. Okay. And not your generic, how you use AI tools. It's more detailed in terms of how will you build AI native products. Okay. If you would see now, every product is, or every company is now implementing AI, either in their internal systems, in their own functioning, or they are building features for the users as well with AI integrated. All right. So to learn all of that, do check out the brochure. Even if you don't want to do the course, I would highly recommend you go through the brochure. At least try to understand what topics do you need to upskill in. Okay. And if you are someone who likes to overall, wants to know more in detail about and wants hand holding in terms of how can you prepare better, wants to be in touch with people who are actually building these AI products, everyone who teaches in our courses is at the top of the game, and they are head of product, head of engineering, all of these folks who are actually your mentors. All right. The sessions are on weekends, so only on Saturdays and Sundays. Either on Tuesday or Wednesday, we do have extra sessions as well, which is for your doubt solving, or we cover certain tools as well. So that happens during the weekday. But your main core concept sessions will be on weekends, 10 to 1, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. IST. All right. Okay. So I see some questions. All right. So the next cohort will start from 11th of July. So accordingly, you can start showing your interest for the same. We will be taking early bird seats soon. So we do have a wait list of folks who want to do this course because we are among the few companies who focus a lot on AI concepts. So we do have some wait list. We first give chance to the folks who are there in the wait list, and then we take up folks who show new interest in becoming a part of our cohorts. Yes, Ashima, there would be early bird discounts. Please do fill in the details in the on the enrollment form, which I've shared. Go through our website. Our team will get back to you, and they will share about the discounts as well. How many candidates? Kaval, we take 50 candidates in a cohort. Okay, you're not able to fill the feedback form. Folks, just a second. If you're not able to fill the feedback form, refresh the feedback form in, say, 5 minutes, and then you should be able to fill it up. Yeah. All right. I think there are no other questions. So that's all for today, folks. Do follow us on LinkedIn, wherein we keep sharing more about the sessions that we're doing every week. And we also share this via Akhil's channel as well, Akhil's LinkedIn page. So we shall be sharing that. Ashrama, we do give you placement assistance in terms of success rate and how do we do it. We shall have a detailed call with you so that we can actually show you who transitions and how the transitions happen, right? So if you have filled the enrollment form or booked a one-on-one call with our mentors, you will accordingly get a reach out from our end, and we will, actually show you how this happens. We don't believe in just saying words, right? Cool. Thanks, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. Hope you have filled the feedback form and shown your interest if you want to do a proper cohort, right? All right. Thank you. Have a great Sunday.